Muted. Hi, good afternoon. This is Mala from Hearts and Minds Development Center. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So I suppose, long holiday, or rather we had a midweek holiday. Not too sure how your week has been. Welcome to the program if you are in, and if you're not in, I hope you get here soon. So what has been happening? I think we've been bombarded with a lot of challenges this week, loads of great news, and it's really important that we stay positive. And I do hope that the conversation that we're going to have today will bring about a lot of positivity for us. So what is it about today? It's about books. And I'm really, really very happy, very glad that I have a very good, what I'd say, a good friend of mine who's agreed to come on today to talk about her love for reading and her love for writing. A lot of times we look at people and, we wonder, how come they have so much of information in their head? I don't know whether you've been that way. I just love talking to what I will say clever people because they just know so much. And our speaker, our guest today, is one such person. So for those who have just joined us, hi Hemal Patel, good morning. I think you're joining all the way from India. Thank you very much for joining us. And yes, you are right. You are in this session that we do, which is known as Being Whole, Being Me. So for those who have been following us, what does being whole, being me means? How do we become authentic to find our true self? And by putting our parts, different parts of ourselves together, we feel whole, right? And right now, Eleanor, hi, it's so good to see you. So I'm sure we would be having people from the T team to welcome Baini as we come along. So who is Baini? Baini is this person I'm going to introduce to you, a very, very private person. I feel very privileged as an extrovert that, we connect and we are still friends after all of this years because I know she's very selective with her friends. So without much further ado, I'm going to bring in Baini, and if you know her, say hello to her. Eleanor, thank you very much to be here. We are bringing Baini up. Hi, Baini.
Hi, Mala. Hi, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to speak in Being Whole, Being Me, and thanks to the others who have joined this session for also tuning in.
Nice. Jeffrey. Hi, Jeff. You say respect, but tell me more about respect. I'm not too sure what you mean. Jeffrey is a very good, actually, everyone is a good friend of mine. That's how I see them, right? So I'm not too sure whether, Jeff, it's fair for me to say you're a very good friend of mine. Jeff is one very unique character who says things as is in the most humorous way. So you need to catch his humor because, within that humor, there's a lot of that. So welcome. I think people are still crawling in. So Baini, how are you today?
I'm feeling great. School holiday is coming, and my house is crazy because I have 3 kids who have online classes now, and yeah, even the 4-year-old has to be on her online class. And they're all so engaged in their classes, so you can hear their voices speaking to their screens, and you kind of don't know whether this is good or bad because it's really loud, and yet they're just talking to their screens. But it's a good sign that they're being engaged with their teachers. So it's something that as adults, it's something that we need to adapt to.
Ah,
And also need to learn that these kids are better with technology than us. Imagine a 4-year-old learning through screen, and it can happen.
that's amazing because that's not very common and regular feedback that we get about online learning. So tell us a little bit more since we've got into that. I know we need to get to know you, Baini, but we've got time. So You have 4 children,
Yeah, between the ages of 2 to 9.
2 to 9. So your youngest, who's 2 years old, your princess, is not in school. So thank God. So the third youngest, who's the 4 year old, and above 4 to 9, they're all on online. And you are saying that your children are engaged. So can you
Yeah.
tell me I want to say what's wrong with them, but no. What do you think? I mean, as a mother, I'm sure you've observed, right? What do you think is happening for them that they are engaged? Because the common problem that we are hearing from a lot of parents is, our kids are not engaged. They are multitasking. They are getting attracted to other stuff. So, what do you think is happening with your kids that they are totally engaged? Any idea?
I don't think I can take credit on that part because I think it's the teachers who uh, the teachers actually send emails out the night before. So I would see the emails and I would be thinking, oh my god, these teachers are sending emails late at night for the kids to be prepared tomorrow. So I cannot get my kids to read the email, but the least I can do as a parent is to look through the email and at least have an idea of what my kids will be learning tomorrow. So during breakfast, I will tell my kids, okay, Elias, this is what your teacher will be talking about. So I give him an interest point for him to focus on during his class. So I think
Mm,
that's one of the ways to get him engaged with what he will be learning on that day because he already has an idea. Oh, okay, Ma already said that we will be learning this and he can apply that knowledge using this way. So maybe he'd want to know more about that and listen to his classes. So I
mm,
think that's
mm.
one of the ways we can do as parents to support online
Right.
learning.
Right. And so after the day, the school day, one whole day of school that they attend, right? What kind of conversations do you have to sort of check whether they were engaged, and what is exciting for them, what's not working for them?
My son was talking about the lesson he had. I think it was mathematics, and he was talking about shapes. So they kind of learn about pentagon, hexagon. So he has problems identifying and remembering those shapes. So I tell him pentagon is often mentioned in superhero movies because they study all these scientific things. So that's how he felt interested. Oh, I must know this because the next time I hear it in the movies, then I know what a pentagon is and
Mm,
the shape, of course. And then I would tell him that octagon is called octagon because it has 8 sides, and because an octopus has eight tentacles. I try to make it interesting. So I don't think I have a check and balance to see whether or not they were engaged. But rather, they would have questions for me to follow up
nice,
with from breakfast. I have no
nice.
intention of checking, but it naturally happens.
How long is your breakfast conversation?
We have breakfast from 6:45 to about 7:30 before they get ready. Yeah, it will be long conversations because it's the only time we really have together.
Right. Wow, nice. Oh my goodness, you won't believe who is here. Nina Shariel Khan is here. I don't know, Baini, do you know Nina?
She's not from T Systems, is she?
No, 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 she's not. Nina is a star. Is a star. She's so famous on LinkedIn. Nina helps people to get their brand up. So Nina here is a very quiet introvert who has so much of knowledge within her, and I'm just grateful to see she said yes. So Nina is awesome. One of the most challenging thing that I learned from Nina when she first came on, when I first met her, was she run this session called just Langa, right? And that was so difficult for me to just embrace, forget about embrace, like to entertain. Because I think, Baini, you can relate to this, right? People like me, I'm thinking like, okay, how do I get this from point A to point B to point C to point D? Which is why I still haven't written my book. right? Because and then I'm recycling it. But whereas Nina brings in a very, very interesting concept to say just do it and improvise as you go. And I know that she has successfully helped a lot of people to get off from overthinking to just doing. So Nina, it's a privilege to have you here. And Nina, if you can't see Baini on LinkedIn and Facebook, you're absolutely right. She's so focused that she's only on Insta, and we'll put up her Instagram account. So for those who are joining us, who have joined us, who are going to join us, I think Baini has got amazing things because when I look at Baini, I met Baini when I was doing some work with her previous organization, and she's got this real, very strong, intelligent presence. She's quiet all throughout. And then when you ask her for some thoughts, she gives you this deep, brilliant thoughts that will take me time to process. And Baini runs amazing book clubs, Baini. Baini, your book clubs are so far the ones that I love the most. Why? I think by now, if you see Baini, she's got this like really quiet presence. But when I attend her book club, I know Baini may not like it. Uh, I want to read the book that she's talking about, but I'm also okay not to read the book if it's not its turn yet, because I've got like maybe 50 books that I need to read urgently. So, like, where does it fall, right? Now, why do I say that? Because Baini is quite amazing as at being true to the author's intention. So what she does with her book clubs is that, she makes you think through what the author wanted you to think through. And when you ask her for an opinion, and this is the big piece that I took away from you, Baini, is that she doesn't give Baini's opinion, but she respects the author and puts herself in the author's position and probably asks you a question that the author might be asking. And so that was a big takeaway in the last two, club book club that that I attended with you, Baini. And that's something that I have been thinking about as to how I need to also learn how to do that. Right. So now I'm learning how to differentiate. Okay, this is what the author is saying, and this is what I think and I feel. So I differentiate it because I can't take away me from this conversation. So for those, if you are in organizations, one of those things Malaysia lacks is reading. Because if you don't read, then chances of us thinking in different perspective is really limited. And if you're running, you want to run book clubs, you want your leaders to read. One of those people you need to watch out in this space is Baini, because I honestly don't know anyone who runs a better book club than Baini for the moment. If you think you run it better, get in touch with me so that I can shout out your name too. Right? So Baini, I think, yeah, enough of all the blah that I'm saying. So give us a bit of introduction, a peek into your life. Who you are, your background, what did you study, and sort of things. You have 4 beautiful children, and I know you're a dedicated mother to your 4 children. Just in the breakfast conversation, we know how much of communication and conversation is going on. But tell us a little bit about where you came from as to your childhood, your education background.
I have a sister and 2 younger brothers. We, our ages are not too far apart, so we are friends and we are also enemies. And it happens that our family is always shifting. So we've moved abroad, we've moved to Sarawak, and after entering secondary school, we were separated because we were sent off to boarding schools where we had to
Mm,
be independent.
mm,
So I think that that kind of shaped me to the person that I am, because I think the reason you think I am quiet, I am reserved, is probably because you thought I had the profile that would fit your assumptions, and then you find out that I am nothing like what what you thought I was. So I think growing up in separate places, you would need to know how to adapt with people, and that showing your true colors, first off, at a first meet would not benefit you well. So those are the kind of upbringing that I had, moving around in the early years of my life. So if you thought you had mistakenly diagnosed me for thinking that I am a quiet person who wouldn't have much of an opinion, then it's normal, I think, because mm, maybe I'm just a grain in the sand that you have not met yet. And
Mm.
I really don't think there is nothing then sorry, I don't think there's anything that is too interesting about the way I grew up. There was nothing special, I think, or maybe I cannot recall anything except for the fact that there were a lot of books around us. My dad was studying for, I think, for his entire life. My dad is he is a retired professor, so I always see him reading. My mom reads novels all the time, so I think that's kind of how reading became like second nature to us siblings. But probably I've taken reading much more seriously than my siblings because I started book clubs, but my siblings venture out, being better at their careers at corporations and the government.
Mm.
So from there, after being separated through during boarding school years, for my degree, I studied information systems, and then I started working at Cyberjaya, several MNCs throughout. I think I worked for at corporations for 13 years,
Mhm.
and then I decided to quit, to run my own business. So that was a heavy shift from being a salaried worker to being an independent person, and I blame I think I blame it on reading because after reading many business books, reading management books, strategy books, it kind of implanted seeds of ideas that I couldn't deny what I wanted to bring forth to the community. And it was unfair for me to be, to have to allocate 9 to 6 of my day working for an organization that has a separate goals, and at the same time denying the idea that is like growing in my head. So I became a conflicted person. That's what I observed at the time, when I had a strong idea in my head, but my hands and my legs were asked to do other things. Yeah.
Mm.
So I was a conflicted person. Maybe a person like you could see it from my split second expressions. um, but I felt it. So the right thing for me to do was to leave the organization and use and dedicate my time and energy towards a goal that is important for me, and that's what I'm doing now.
Whoa. Baini, I want to tell you. So I'm going to give you public feedback now, right? Are you ready for
Right?
it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So I think one of those things. So you when I first met you in the training sessions, you were one of those I was like terrified of. When I say terrified, I will say, because you're like sitting there deeply listening, and then when you say something, I'll need to like process. Oh my gosh, she's so deep and brilliant, right? So that was one. And you are absolutely right when you say that, you are one of the most courageous person I have met. in organizations, because you will look always calm, but when I have a conversation with you and ask you, because I know you have very strong values and I know you're very anchored in your values and you don't quite like care. You're never in a position. So the few conversations I've had with you, in the work context, for me, you will do what you believe to be true. And I've been privileged enough to watch you being in conflicted situations, right? And when I've seen you, I feel a lot of pain because I'm thinking, how is she holding all of it together? And I think we've had conversations about that too.
Yeah.
And what I appreciate about you, and I'm very grateful, is that whenever I ask you a question, I know that whatever you say always comes from a very honest space, right? You say what you want to say, and if there are things that you don't want to say and you don't want to share, you will keep that to yourself. And that's the part I think over the many interaction, I've only grown to respect you a lot more deeper and a lot more, right? And I must tell you that. And I know also that when I remember the last conversation I had with you without mentioning incidents, right? When you had that major conflict, I mean, you said it in such calm tone, but you were very clear that I do because I had to do it, was part of my job responsibility, but I will not put myself in a position where my values are conflicted. And next, I know you say you're living, right? And you've just articulated that. But what is really interesting in this conversation for me is that you're saying that, I read all of these books and they put in ideas in my head, and I felt like I need to leave the ideas that's in my head, right? And I want to go to that transition where you, from this stable, very, very stable job, because I know your uh, then organization really valued you. That I know because I was working with your big bosses, right? So they valued your input, they valued your intelligence, and you seem to have like a really bright future. I think you will have a bright future wherever you go. But when you say that you had these ideas and those ideas you wanted to implement them, and that's why you left, can you tell us a little bit more about
Well, I would say this comes. These are gifts that you get from reading. When you read at a superficial level, you disengage with the world and you get drawn into the fiction and the characters that you're reading, to their dramas. And then so the gift that reading gives you is that it shuts you out from the world. So it's kind of therapy or meditative activity. So that is reading at a superficial level. So what happened to me was that I was reading a book a week.
that?
And then yeah, I was reading a book a week at the time, and I was reading a lot of business books. So a deeper level of reading happened then. So there were seeds being sown in my head. It's like, ideas presenting themselves, knocking on your door. Are you Baini? We need to be materialized. Would you be the one helping us? That is how I felt. That is how I felt, the presence of ideas in the form of their energy. And yeah, so I was like, okay, so I need to do something about this idea that is bugging me. So eventually I did, and one of them was the book, which was presented, I think, well received by the community. So it shows that actually the seeds that are being sown by the different kinds of books that we read, it actually forms, people call it lattice work thinking model. So it's a thinking model that is specific to you. So
Mm,
that
mm,
that is what I think happened to me. And which is why I think it would be unfair if I plant myself into an organization that has a different goal than
Okay.
mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that so you are saying that you are looking for organizations up. So when you felt that your personal values, your personal gifts didn't fit the organization that you were representing, then you realized that okay, time to move on and move forward, right? And the other thing that I'm hearing is that literally when you are reading books, you are in the world of books, and that's your real world. Would that be a correct or a fair enough paraphrase?
I would say reading is my real world because to me, reading is the easy part, but applying what you read, that's where real world happens, and it's not a nice place. It's not all pretty and painless.
Right. So tell me the transition, because for me, right, my my books that I love are the books that has saved me, I would say, right? Because in my growing years, I didn't have clear direction in terms of people whom I can talk to. Either they were not there, I didn't know how to find them, or my self-esteem was so low that I didn't know how to ask the question, right? So but what I found, so the way I ended up loving reading nonfiction, actually. So learning how to, I don't read nonfiction, I study nonfiction, right? And they become my base, my foundation for the work that I do, because it gets me into the space of the wisdom of the author and what the author is trying to do. And my best books usually are the books where I am having a very serious fight with the author. For
Mm-hmm.
me, right? I'm like, no, I don't agree with you. How dare you say this? I think you've got all of this wrong. And usually those are the books that really shapes me, because that book, because I want to prove the author wrong, will lead me into the next book to read to prove the author wrong. That's how my reading chain starts, right? And these are books that has like really helped me to find myself. When I say it shapes me, it helps me. Great books help me find myself, right? And I feel more defined. I have a lot more clarity about who I am, right? So when you talk about your books and when you choose, so you read one book a week,
Yeah.
like how?
Sometimes more. Sometimes more.
It was scary. So tell us first, right? Where did you get this dream of reading one book a week? Like that's 52 books.
I think it was around 2013, 2014. I saw a quote somewhere that said, um, the next 5 years of your life is determined by the 50 books that you read.
Okay,
So in 2015, I decided, all right, I'll document it on my Instagram using a hashtag called 50 books a year.
okay.
So turns out changes happened less than 5 years, positive changes. So I kept up. Yeah, I kept up with reading a book a week. There were also weeks that I read like 3 books, but yeah, I think it's quite indulgent when I read more than one book a week because the time takes me away from other responsibilities. So I try to keep it to one book a week. That's a sensible amount of book to read in one week.
Right. And so when did you start reading one book a week?
2015, 6 years ago, like
And
seriously read one book a week. Yeah.
before that?
Before that, I didn't really track. So that was probably 2 books a month.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So you started reading, you read somewhere that these books are going to progress you and you started reading, right? So when you read, so how much time do you spend in a week reading? Like on a daily basis, like roughly?
Um, I think I kind of read all the time. While frying a fish, I would have a book. So that's like 2 minutes of reading could be like 3 pages.
Nice,
I'm a
nice.
fast reader because I did that course as a small kid. So yeah,
Which is speed reading.
yeah.
Okay, good. So, would you recommend speed reading for all those who want to read 52 books a week?
No.
No. Okay,
Um,
tell me why.
Speed reading is really a skill that would benefit younger children.
Okay.
Because I say that because when you're younger, you don't have biases. As you get older, and when you learn to speed read, you would also learn to filter what you read with your bias, and we wouldn't want that. So if you want to teach to get your kids to become avid readers, one of the ways is to make reading easy for them. So get them into speed reading courses. But
Okay.
for adults, I wouldn't recommend speed reading courses because we are more inclined to express our biases than and our reading would not benefit us effectively.
So, you would recommend people with young kids to help the children acquire skills in speed reading because you think that there's like they don't have to filter through, but when you're much older, you think that because we will pause to think and to have a debate perhaps about the content. Speed reading may not be as useful. Is that
Mm,
what you're saying? Yeah. Okay. All right. I mean, that
yeah.
makes a lot of sense because you do quantity before you do quality. Now, at this moment, I'm just going to stop for a bit and say hello to a couple of people. For some reason, people on Facebook, I see you on my mobile, but I'm not able to put up your comments yet. So I'm just going to read so that Baini knows who are her lovely friends who are saying hello to her, right? You said hello to Eleanor just now, yes, and Nina Sarev, and James Fung is a big time captain on LinkedIn. And there's Faslina, if you remember the other intelligent Faslina from where we came from. And there's John Peter Ganesan. Thank you so much, John, for always joining us. How are we doing? Life got better after you joined us, right? And those are people whose comment I can see on LinkedIn. On Facebook, Shaz Zakaria Idris says, proud of you, Kak Baini. And Gunalan Subramaniam is another friend who says, great sharing. Gunalan is an amazing father who's raising two children in the best way that I can remember. So those are people who have officially said hello to you. So you've introduced us to 52 books, how reading shapes you, and how for you the difficulty is not the reading, but taking the reading and putting it into practical application. All right.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at your life, how has reading shaped you in terms of the choices and the major decisions that you've made in your life? Has there been major
Um,
choices like you read about, some people have these moments where they say, I have those moments, right? So I read this book and I'll say, oh my God, this changed my life, right? So I've got a few books that I swear changed my life. I swear that God sent the book to me because He needed to talk to me or He needed me to listen, right? So, do you have books that you would say, like, this book changed my life? Not one, but yeah.
the recent one, I wouldn't say recent. I cannot say. I don't think there is. I have tags of which books changed my life because I find that um, each book that I read changes me a bit. So I would say it's probably an author could change my life. because of his works. So two authors that I can mention here is Robert Greene and also Robin
Mm.
Sharma.
Okay.
So Robin Sharma is a prolific writer. He writes really well, and he is not imposing. So I think
Mm.
his approach works with me. And Robert Greene, on the other hand, is very blunt. He gives you facts only. So that balances it out for me. So I would say that I don't think there is a specific book that helps me with making decisions, because I
Mm.
think if we're all being truthful here, we humans, we make decisions based on our emotion. If we're all being truthful to ourselves. So reading helps me in avoiding bad decisions,
Mm.
or navigating through a bad decision, and also in accepting decisions that other people make, because that is something that is difficult to do too, accepting other people's decisions.
Mm.
So that is how books help me with decisions. It's always a compilation of works that help one little bit, um, small portion of yourself. We cannot give a book to a book the total credit of how, the person you turn out to be, because even if you read like 50 books in 1 year and you sat on it, you didn't do anything about it, it doesn't change you.
Mm, nice. So you read a book and you take the lessons that you agree or you disagree, and you apply it. So it is in the application that your life changes are happening. And I like the two authors that you introduced to us, Robert Greene. Now I am going to start reading Robert Greene because of you. Some for some reason I haven't fallen in love with Robin Sharma yet, but to be fair, I haven't given him a fair chance. I'm absolutely in love with Gabo Mate, and I think he was sent by my dad because I've said, his book make me reconcile, a lot with my past. That's Gabo Mate. And there are so many other good authors, but another author, like in comparison, is Brene Brown helps me to reconnect and accept me for who I am. So in reading all her books, she makes me feel like, okay, Malar, you were right on track. Because, sometimes it's that validation for me as to I think I am following my heart's desire. I'm being true to myself. But, sometimes you just want to hear some validation. Am I really on the right track, or, shocks and maybe? So Brene Brown is the one who really helped me to feel like, this is my vocation and my journey to be part of EQ. So I must say, I got that. Now, so when it comes to application, so what I liked about what you said, which was also confusing for me, is that you said that, reading books actually, helps you in the sense that avoiding bad decisions in some ways. But I also like the fact that you said it helps you to accept people.
Mhm.
Tell us a bit more of like, how does reading a book help you to accept people?
Okay, I think an easier way to visualize that is that rather than reading a specific book about psychology, talking about uh, the Pareto Principle, 80-20. So if a person does 20% good, it could be the 80% of people might think that a person is good because she does 20% of the good that is seen, that is visible. So that
Mm,
is a psychology principle. But if you
right.
were to read fiction, if you read fiction, let's say you read, okay, this could be a bit heavy, but a literature from Russia, Fyodor Dostoevsky. I don't know if you've read his book. It's called Crime and Punishment.
Mm,
So this young university student. He accidentally killed a person, and the guilt that he carries. So this book was written in the 18th century. So it was like a psychoanalysis of guilt. So when you understand what a person who's done wrong goes through, you would empathize with a person who has done similarly.
Mm,
So that's
mm,
what I would say with accepting decisions, because when you've read fictional characters doing wrong, and living with the consequences, and the good thing about fiction is that it also narrates the psychoanalysis of a person who's feeling guilty. So
mm,
you kind of understand because you've kind of been in those shoes from reading those kind of fictions.
mm, mm. Mm. So,
Okay.
so what you're saying is, I love what you're saying because I would say that's what Gabo Mati did for me in the areas that I was really struggling with forgiveness, right? So, what you're saying is that the acceptance happened because when you're reading the book, you naturally become more empathetic because it
Yeah.
hits into the compassion because you really get to stand in the shoes of the character, and you suddenly have new light, new thoughts, a new way of looking at that person. And that means that it helps us to become less judgmental, right? Because
Yes.
I think what I have seen of people sometimes is that the more they call it education, but probably the more read they are, sometimes they become more sure about rights and wrongs, right? And what I'm hearing, and I echo that because I see that happening to me now, the more I read or the more I study and try and practice what I accept of these books, right? I find that because I'm generally judgmental, I find that I am a lot more less judgmental because I realize there's so much more to life than what I can contain with my life and experience.
True.
And you are bringing the need for empathy, right? Now, in the people that you've worked with, in the way you have actually seen, right? How would you rate the kind of reading that happens in well, to be,
Timor.
I want to say Malaysia, but when you look around, right, how often or how much of reading do people around us do in your experience?
I think I wouldn't be a well-read person if I actually judge. I have judgments about people who don't read, because I'm sure if they were in my circumstances, they had my kind of upbringing, they had my kind of environment, they would have been a reader too. I did not become like this because I wanted to be me. I became like this because of the people around me, the environment I live in. So it
Mm,
doesn't, this kind of things, when when good things happen to you, it's not because of you, it's because of the people around you. So if other people don't have the privilege of knowing how nice it is to be reading and learning, it's because they haven't been privileged enough to be in such environment. So that's why I think it's my duty to entice the adults, the parents, to build up a conducive environment for our children to become learners, not just readers, but learners.
right.
Because the fact is that is if a person loves learning, there is nothing you can do to stop them from reading. Because we're always talking about reading, 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 and it's not about reading, because I see people competing about how many books they can read. My god, you can see people who are reading 120 books in a year, and then when
Mm,
you meet them, you'd be like, she's not what I thought she turned out to be. So let's stop with the the number of books that you read, but cultivating the love of learning. that's what we need to focus on.
Okay, good. That brings us to to a very important question, because it looks like you've. Now, I love the way you said. It's so difficult to trap you with a controversial question, Baini. That's what I realized. Because I'm like, let's now, get a go, have a go at the people who are not reading, because I want people to read, and sometimes I live among people who don't want to read. I'm like, can you not see the benefit? So you said, yeah, we are the privileged ones. We have read, we have seen the benefits. We know how beautiful the life in books can be as to our takeaway and how it shapes us. So great, we are privileged. So I am as privileged as you, and I want to spread the importance and the benefit of reading for a better life. Like for me, it will be read to find yourself, so then we can live a fulfilling life. So tell me, what are you doing to spread the great news, or to help people to have a peek at the privilege of reading? What are some things that you're doing?
Um, After I left my job, I thought I read a book that says the best way you can serve the community is something that is easy for you to do, but is totally impactful for other people. And that would be, I think, that would be me helping people out with their English communication. So that's what I did right after I left my job.
Mm,
I did proofreading for academicians. I coach people with their communications. So after a while, I noticed that there are some knowledge gaps that are quite common among adult Malaysians. So I decided that I
mm,
should write a book. So in 2019, I wrote this book, The Janitor's Elysium. So it's kind of a hybrid between fiction and non-fiction, but it's kind of about facing life adversities, self-improvement, and also fulfillment. And along the way of reading that, people learn how to correct common grammar errors among Malaysians. So I was really pleased when
mm.
this book became a Anugerah Perpustakaan Negara finalist, because that was not my intention of writing that book. So that's the first thing that I wanted to put out to to the community, because that's kind of one of the impacts of a deeper level of reading. Because when you read at a superficial level, it is a gift for you, but when you read at a deeper level, it becomes a gift to your community. So that is kind of what happened to me, and it's still plaguing me, Mala, because I'm on a different project now. And for the past 1 year, this project has been hitting the wall, and I just couldn't get this idea that is sitting in my head out to materialize it. So what I decided was that I needed to get more education. So right now I am a master student, full-time master student, doing AI. Artificial intelligence, nothing to do with management, nothing to do with strategy or whatever that I was attached with before I left the organization. So putting myself into this painful position of learning technical IT again, especially this neural network concepts, machine learning, um, it's not a beautiful sight. It's not a walk on the beach, but I understand that learning is a painful process, and the enlightenment that you get that interlaces with this growing pains is something that is worth whatever pain that I have endured to understand the thing that I'm learning. And as an old student, because my classmates are much younger than I am, it's a struggle. It's a struggle, and I sometimes wonder, why do I put myself in this position? I have a comfortable life, but as I said, I have this idea that presented itself to me, Baini, can you help manifest ourselves? So I had the choice whether or not I wanted to answer the call from this idea. And so I decided that, yeah, I would give this idea a try because I, I think um, this is what people call living a creative life fearlessly, because I have this idea that comes and visit me, and I think, well, I think I can do this, but I would have fun doing it regardless if it's difficult or easy. So, and I only have the commitment to myself, that I would be really fulfilled if this idea is brought to life, because this would totally be beneficial for the community. So I only have that and hopes and faith to work on this, and I have 2 more semesters left to the completion of my masters.
Nice, nice. Congratulations. Like you, I think you are just made for difficult parts, like so you choose the more difficult one, the road that is less traveled. That seemed to be your track record, and you're also affirming. I'm a very strong believer, and that's why we are doing, being whole, being me, about what I call stories of changing, your pains to pearls. So I think wherever there is a pain, when it is well used when your pain has a purpose, it becomes pearls that the community benefits from, and that's what you seem to be saying in your own words, right? um
Mhm.
i as I listen to you, and you say I know you want to serve a greater purpose. Now, if you don't mind, show us the book one more time, your book. Can you show us your book one more time? So for people who are, we'll put in the link for the book. Yeah, please. If you want to know how grammar can be fun, and that's what I realized because I hate grammar. This is the book that you may want to consider getting, written by our dearest Baini, our own author, our Malaysian author. And she has written it in a non-boring way, which is in a form of storytelling. So I've got this book, I've read this book. I'm not too sure whether my grammar has improved by any, that I will have to do a separate test, because I realize in my growing years, even now, right, when people want to try and correct my grammar, I correct my grammar by thinking how it feels right. So that's my grammar rules. And I thought it was interesting that you wrote this book. So going back, a little bit back to why you wrote the book. Why did you think this book is going to be useful to the community?
Because I realized that many of those that I serve are professionals,
Mm-hmm.
and yet they have very profound misconceptions about things that were taught in probably middle school. And it's hard to disconnect yourself with something that is ingrained in yourself. So I thought it is my job, as a person um, who knew a little bit better than others on how this can be correctly reversed. So that's what I did with the book. When I received feedback from people saying that this book impacted them positively, and that just makes me feel alive.
Yeah, nice.
I feel dead now doing the my masters in AI. I feel dead now, but I'm sure when I get the thing that I wanted to materialize up upon finishing this master's program, it will be worth the while.
Right. How do you see your master's program contributing to your bigger vision in life at this moment?
earlier during our talk, I mentioned that I am an IT graduate, and upon the journey of learning more about myself, I think the gift that God blessed me with, which I believe God blesses everyone with a talent that we need to discover. It's our responsibility to discover our talent. So the talent that I am blessed with is in communicating in English. So what I discovered is that using machine learning, you need to apply your expertise. Three things: you need to apply your expertise, coding, and also statistics. When you get all those three things together, you can benefit other people exponentially because you can turn it into an application.
Right,
So this is a bit difficult to understand because this is technical computer science.
right.
And that is the kind of thing that I'm putting myself through right now, just so that I can serve more people.
All right.
It's
Nice.
it's quite
Now,
difficult to explain to people why I want to do this, but when the thing materializes, yeah, then I
un-
wouldn't have to do any more explaining.
right. No, I perfectly get it. I get it in the sense that in my own world, while I am known for emotional intelligence, there are many times I couldn't explain to people why I was pursuing emotional intelligence, right? Because it was not paying my bills. It was just making me feel alive and connecting with myself. And by the way, once in a way, people will say, "Ah, the program was good, right?" Because all the other programs that I was doing, which may not be directly related to EQ, is what was really feeding me. But I knew that these are things that if I didn't do, I cannot die in peace, kind of a feel. So, and you said, you feel alive when you do that. So I think and I love the part that you say, we all have a gift, and let's
Mhm.
use our gift, to reconnect within and serve a greater purpose, right? And what I'm hearing is that so you've used your love for reading to serve greater purposes, in the spaces that you occupy, and now you're doing your masters in AI, and that's because you're listening within, or probably the voice from above, that tells you, okay, I know I'm going to do something with it, and it's for a greater purpose, but I'm just following my heart to pursue what feels like the thing that I actually want to do. I never thought I'll be in the space of well-being, but EQ has led me into the space of well-being. I never thought I will be doing this conversation with people I love and people like you saying yes to me. So I'm doing that. Where it's going to lead, I'm not sure. I'm going to quickly take you into questions, and I'm so happy your book actually got into the finalists of this Anugrah Pustaka, and because again, this is validation of being on the right track, and I think that's important. And I also think it's important, specifically in Malaysia, that we celebrate people who are using their talents, and these are some talents that are, I would say, so powerful in shaping lives, in shaping our communities, but may not be so materially fulfilling. And I want to celebrate those heroes. I want to bring those stories alive, which is why I'm doing that. Again, thank you, Baini. My dear friend Gerard Fernandez, a very kind soul who's always putting in a very interesting question and very humble. He says, good sharing, reading is important, but unfortunately, doesn't happen much these days with the young. Okay lah, Jura, I won't say just with the young lah, it's with the young and everybody. So again, I'm going to take the non-judgmental stage with Baini. But he's asking, I'm guilty too as I need to improve. How do we motivate, inculcate the habit of reading? If you haven't answered, because I think you did talk a little bit about it, but what would be your direct answer? How do we motivate, inculcate the habit of reading, Baini? From Jura.
Um, I think our generation, our culture, we pretty much value accomplishments. So rather than really understanding your textbook and being curious with what happened um, through our history, we studied history just to get an A. We weren't really curious why this war happened, why this perjanjian had to be signed. We weren't curious at all. We just wanted an A. So we can cultivate the habit of reading with the young, but for us adults, I would say to use the 50 books a year method. I talk about the 50 books a year method in this book. It's where you pick up a book each week and you decide whether or not you like the book. So that means you don't have to read the book to the end to decide that you don't like the book. So you just go through the book and decide if this is the kind of author that you would be in want to spend time with, if this is a kind of writing style that would entice you. So if not, then put it aside. And the next and the key is in moving forward with the next book right away. So when you pick up the next book, then you decide, is this the kind of book I want to read? Yes, no, yes, you stick with it. If no, move on to the next one. And by the 50th book, I'm sure you would at least have found one author that you like, one kind of genre that you might be interested in, or even better, have turned into a reader. So give
Mm.
yourself the chance of going through 50 books. That's one book a week for a year, just to find out what kind of book that you like. Once you've done that, then you can decide whether or not reading is for you. I bet you would know that reading is for everybody.
Nice,
People
nice.
favor reading for ourselves.
I like that because so it's like courtship, meet a lot of people and
Yeah,
figure
it's
out
speed
who is
dating.
huh?
It's
Speed
like speed
dating.
dating. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, I like speed dating, all right. So go do the speed dating with the books and see who you want to court, but spend a bit more time, with the courting, and then you see who else moves on to the next phase. But I'm not too sure if there's such a thing as marriage because you can't stick with one author or one book. So, so this is not leading into marriage.
Okay.
It's just yeah, leading into great
If you've
relation.
gone through if you've gone through 50 rounds of speed dating and not find one match, then the problem is you.
And how do we solve that problem, Baini?
I'm sure you have found one at least from the 50 rounds
Okay,
of speed dating for at least one date.
right, right. Nice, nice. Well, then maybe you are going for the same type of books or authors and that's why you haven't found the variety for you to find what's your type.
Correct. Yeah.
Right, perhaps. Oh, that's a good one. Something is wrong with you. Okay, so remember speed dating with books. Find the book. If you don't find the book or the genre that speaks up to you, that you want to take on to the next stage, nothing is wrong with the books, but it's something wrong with you. Okay, next question. We have this wonderful Ibrahim. Ibrahim is presence, persuasive pitches, and presentation. He says, I can't help but fall asleep 2 pages into any book, and I think you would have heard this very much. I tell my friends who say, I want to start reading, I said, no problem, read the 2 pages that will let you go to bed because that's a good start. But he says, regardless of content and context, looking for pro tips. And he claims he's asking for a friend, never mind. So tell me, do you have any tips for people who read and fall asleep?
I don't think being sleepy is the problem, but rather it is the writing style. Because when you read many books, you would discover that two authors would talk about the same topic, but you find that one author is more engaging to you because of the writing style. Some
Mm,
authors write dynamically,
mm,
and some authors write like a sermon, but
mm,
it serves for different kind of audience.
mm, mm.
So that's why I recommend going through 50 books a year so that you find the right type of writing style that reads you. Because
Mm,
you want a book that reads you. You're not looking for a book to read.
mm. A
When the
books that
book,
reads you.
yeah, when you find the kind of author that could read you, and then you would be like, okay, I really need to speak with this person further. You won't be falling asleep. So the problem is in going through the varieties of books that can help us.
This is beginning to sound like a real relationship with someone that I'm going to fall in love and I'm going to spend more time just listening in and feel that I'm being listened to. That's how it's beginning to sound.
It
Uh,
is. It is.
okay, okay, wow. That's I've never heard of someone talking about books in such the word that comes to me is such intimacy, and I feel intimate with the stuff that I read, but I love the way you say, read to read you. And yeah, I'm going to sit with that a bit, and I'm feeling a bit more normalized with my relationship with my authors, because when I talk about
Mhm.
the authors, I'm saying, oh my gosh, I'm in love. So if Hui Ping speaks to me and she's talking to me, I said, today I'm in love again, I've fallen in love again, and my heart really jumps as if I am in love, because I can't wait to finish the book. I
Mhm.
can't wait. So I'll go in Google and read up more about this person. Want to see how usually he looks, and stuff like that. So it's a real thing. It's a real relationship. So thank you very much for that, Baini. Now I'm going to get into rapid fire with Baini, but as I do that, if you have tuned in with us, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask Baini, please put it down on comments now, because we have about another 10 minutes before we take all the intelligence out of Baini. Now, with most other speakers, I will say I'm going to call you back. I'd love to have Baini back, but I don't know whether she'll be free to come at the way AI is squeezing her brain, right? Please throw in your questions, dump your questions, write your questions on comment now if you have. Um, and if you don't have, I think what would be very good feedback for us, specifically for me, is that, if you've been listening to Baini, write down, one or two words. What's your one takeaway from the conversation? What did you take away from this conversation? Because Baini has put aside her time. Put it on chat so that we can catch up with it later. um, how is it helping you as a reader yourself, and if you're a parent, how it's shaping your thinking right now? Also tell us what else you would like, so that we can bring other Bainis of this world, who are shaping the world in a very, very quiet way, who are contributing to the ideal Malaysia that we all want to build, right? We all dream of, but we need to do our parts, right? With that, as the words are coming in, Baini, are you ready for the rapid fire? So after the rapid fire, I'll see if there's questions. We will look at it. Right.
And
So
I have a question first. What is
ah,
rapid fire?
rapid fire is very much a question that I'm just going to ask, and you're going to answer it without thinking about it too much. The first
Is
thing
that
that
going to
comes
be
to
hard? All right.
not for you, not for you, not for you. I think the difficulty for you would be like, okay, how do I do without thinking, right? So which means that rapid fires. So I found it interesting because some of our greatest wisdom comes when we're not thinking, because we've already thought about it.
Unconsciously. Mm-hmm.
So so I'll ask you to finish a sentence and stuff like that, and you just answer whatever comes to your mind first.
Okay.
All right, not from the
Yep.
book. All right. So by me, the series is known as Being Whole, Being Me. So this is for me, lah. When I say being whole, being me, what comes to your mind? Sorry, one more time.
Authenticity.
Authenticity. Thank you very much.
Authenticity.
Got it. Authenticity. And that's it. All right. Now, the best gift that you've got through reading
Hmm.
is,
Peace.
sorry,
Peace.
peace.
Yeah.
Peace. Peace.
Yeah.
Oh, the best gift you've got from reading is, wow. Okay. My greatest struggle in practicing what I read.
Oh, my
Finish the
own
sentence.
bias. My own bias.
Okay. Tell us more.
Uh, I, I have a strong bias for people who um, people who don't read and rely on experiences. Because what people don't realize is that when you read, you absorb more experiences from others. Because I get a lot of pushbacks. People would say lah, banyaklah masa kau nak membaca. And it's as if like like I've got nothing better to do than reading. So yeah, like please, I love relaxing and doing nothing like everybody else. But I just find it's a better use of my time to read. So that's the kind of a bias that I always have naturally. So when you ask me the question about people who don't read, that is the bias that I have naturally, and I am aware of this. And because I am very aware of this, it's a very thick block that I put in front of me whenever I am faced with those kind of people, because I know I would get um, people like this would want to set you back a few steps to the back, because they think you cannot move forward just because you all you do is read. And the fact is that I don't I do more than just reading. I just don't talk about it. I just don't talk about what I do. Okay, so
I
that's
get
it.
you. I get you.
Hmm.
Thank you. Right. One growing pain that a book helped you to overcome.
Um, Competition between siblings.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
sibling
And
rivalry. I think that's the correct term. Yeah,
thank you. Thank you.
the correct term
And
is sibling rivalry. Yeah.
yes, the correct. So, yeah. So, sibling rivalry. I think if you had a sibling, you know what it means, and that's one of the growing pains that people overcome. Great. So, all those who have more than one children, going, you know what to do now. The most challenging idea from a book that you still struggle with.
There is a book by the founder of Tencent. I'm not sure if you've heard of Tencent. Tencent. It's a Chinese-based AI company. He said that his ideas came from a fiction book, and this fictional storybook talks about the future where Hong Kong would be the most clean city, would be the most advanced city during the day. And at night, the real people who actually work to clean the cities, to build the cities, would come out to work. And the fact is that when there is so much advancement and people who don't keep up could never keep up. So that is the kind of thought that is the kind of realization that he has after reading fiction that got him into technology, because he was so sure the Hong Kong that he read from the fiction could be true, which is something that actually we kind of see nowadays. Workers seem invisible to the city, but they are the ones who are really working, who are not just giving orders, and yet they are the ones who are being on the sideline and not receiving the benefits that they should receive. Uh, I don't think if I'm making sense to you, but if it's all about economic disparity. If people don't realize how important it is for them to keep up now, then the wealth gap would just eat you up. So and it's going to be a generational thing. If you don't pull yourself out of poverty, that the same thing is going to happen to your kids. Because the fact is that nowadays everybody has equal chances, and the next generation um, has more privilege if their parents or their grandparents could give them could leave them some inheritance for the step up in life. That is a fact of life. And if you are not aware of these facts, you need books that actually expose these kind of truths, because nowadays people consume content from the media, and
Mm,
and they just tell us what we want to hear. They want us to participate in conflicts that are external to us,
mm,
rather than fixing ourselves and
mm.
moving ahead in life, because that's what we really need. We don't need a better politician, we need a better person in ourselves. That's the only person who can save you, not your MP. That is really what I want to say. If I could say just one thing, your MP cannot save you, only you can save yourself.
Baini, I must say, your last two sentences really evokes a lot of sentiments and emotions for me, because I think you've brought upon two very, very. I know we're in the midst of rapid fires. I've lost the track for rapid fire, because you're leaving us with so much of depth, right, about how education really will be the one that will take us from our economic disparity, which is what I believe. Because for me, it's, an education here, it's not academic qualification, is your ability to think for
Yes.
yourself, to find yourself, right? But before you do that, we all need to learn how to think, so that we stop becoming victims of other people made me this, right? And that directly relates to taking back the power in our life to make choices that will take and move our generation forward. Because one of those things that I truly feel heard about education is not with the system, not with the teachers, but with the parents. Because every time I meet parents who are obsessed with AI and fuming, right? I'm just so upset. And so, you fired me up by saying, here we are talking about reading. No, we're learning about thinking, right? And if there's one superpower you think all of us can get through reading, what would that be?
A sharper intuition, because we're talking about superpowers. What people don't realize is that when you read quality books, I'm talking about quality books,
Mm,
the author imparts his or her intuition with you, because whatever is that was written has been processed many times in their heads.
mm.
So if there was one superpower that you can get from reading, it is a sharper intuition. You could see things before it happens.
Wow.
That's what reading
Thank
gives.
you. Thank you, thank you. I cannot say how much I have got from these conversations, and I can tell you I can keep this going, but people are going to kill me because I've already taken 20 minutes of your time. Baini, thank you is not enough. I'm so grateful that our paths cross. I've got so much out of you. Definitely, it comes with a short prayer that, you quickly finish your master's in AI, because we can't wait to have you back where we are gaining a lot from you, from your wisdom, and from your need to serve us in a way that I think we really need right now, right in the midst of our country, to create awareness and skills, right? Because what you've done through whole, I mean, I think I may have actually got into this space to hopefully, get people to want to read, right? But what you've given is really taken us one full circle, because when we first started, when the so-called reading, writing, and being able to do all of this was first started, it was the education of the mind and the making of character. And what you've done is that you've brought us back all where we actually started, on the intention of learning in itself, right? And I want to really, really thank you for spending your time away to be with us. You've definitely inspired me, and I'm sure you've inspired many, many other people. People, please connect with Baini, buy her book. Baini, what is your next book going to be?
It would be about acclimatizing with artificial intelligence, um, and how we. I know for many years people think that automation, artificial intelligence would take away our jobs, and that is not true. Because if we had a sharper intuition, because we read, we would know that automations would not take over our jobs if we had done the work beforehand. So that is why it is important for me to understand the basics of AI before I write the book, because I want to make it as understandable, as easy, as simple, so that anybody could understand complex AI concepts. That's what I'm trying to do.
Nice. So thank you very much. I wish you all the best. I will keep bugging you so that I can be infused with your inspiration and your love. And Ibrahim says, "Oh, thank you so much, Malar and Baini. I can't believe I'm not paying for this." Hey guys, really, thank you for your support, because some of you turn up every week, and that's great encouragement and reaffirmation for me and for the speakers I'm bringing on board, because they are all doing this because one is, I think they say yes to me because we have a personal relationship. I bring them because I believe in them, and a lot of them are not out there telling the world what they do. So support us, help us by going into our YouTube, subscribing, connect with Baini, buy her books, tell your friends. If you want to give out gifts this year for whatever reason, now there's a book that you can give out to kids and adults about grammar from our very own author, Baini Mustafa. So, as Baini says, buy any last thing that you want to say before I get you off the screen. Anything else you want to leave
um,
the audience with, Baini?
I think my final parting message for becoming whole, being me, being whole, is that having a correct assessment of yourself is is a lot of internal work, and it would never end, because some people think that they have this one story, one trauma, they got out of the trauma, so so here is my story for everyone, and that's not how it is. um, so being whole, being me, is about, it's not about ourselves, it's about serving others.
Thank you. Thank you, Baini. Thank you so much. I'm grateful, all right? And I really look forward to watching your space, and I'm sure everybody who is online is also watching that space. With that, thank you. Have a great week ahead, great days ahead, and stay blessed by
You
higher
guys
power.
too.
All right, thanks. Okay, as we all say bye to Baini, for the people who have joined, and I was like, too engrossed with Baini, I want to thank all those who have actually come on board, specifically some names that's coming. Oh my goodness, another author in the house. Patpal is here. Hi, Patpal. Thanks for joining us. Nimala, I know you've always encouraged my work on LinkedIn. I want you to know I'm thankful for that. Ibrahim, for all the continuous engagement that you've been giving. I'm reading here. And Gerard, of course, my dear friend, who's also always here asking very important questions and engaging. Anita Nesamalar, thank you, because my life in tea, you're one of the great friends I found. Who else? John Peter Ganesan, I think you're all from India, but thank you for joining us every week. Would love to reconnect and communicate and get to know you a little bit more. James, of course, Dinagaran Arumugam, thank you very much. Jeffrey, if you're still there, Eleanor, Hemal Patel, if you're still there, thank you for joining us. And I also see Michelle Chia, Jerica. Now, guys, one of those things that you can do if you find these really useful, not only like, but please share, because the objective is to create awareness among Malaysians. Why Malaysians specifically? Because I think we are always looking elsewhere for role models when we have amazing role models here that we can connect, we can talk, who live in the culture that we live in, so that we know that this is possible. A better me is possible, a whole me is possible. And with that, with the shift of every individual, we shift relationships, we shift communities, and we shape the world that we want to live in. And quoting Baini, we don't need the politicians to do this for us, because the power is in us, and the power is in the way we think and what we can actually read. And reading is so widely available. As we do that, again, please, help us by telling us what topics you want, what else you like to know, what questions that you like. I will be putting up a poll, because I'm also thinking that we might do some conversational piece in the areas of emotional intelligence. If you're up for that, again, put it in comments. Now, as I say goodbye, because it's already 1:30, one last announcement. June, May is my favorite month. That's why we got started here. But June is an exciting month, because it's a month dedicated generally men who are called fathers. And so next week, to jumpstart, I found a guy who said he is going to be the best looking dad who's going to walk down his daughter down the aisle. So I'm very happy next week we'll be getting a male, because some people ask me whether this is a women's show. No. Next week, we're bringing in a father who's going to share his story, how his daughter inspired him to do what he is doing today. And he's coming to share, again, a private person to share his story, so that we can bring about all the fathers who make sacrifices, who are inspired by fatherhood, to inspire and bring stories among us from ordinary people with extraordinary choices that they are making. We are also lining up a lot of conversations about family, functional families. And of course, we'll have quite a number of role models of fatherhood coming through, because we know that our life starts where a family starts. and a family will only become functional, and a family can bring about great functional individuals. But first, we need to focus on ourselves and grow together. With that, thank you very much for listening in, supporting us, and giving us feedback. This is Malarvili from Hearts and Minds Development Center signing off. See you again, same time tomorrow. Not tomorrow, sorry, next Friday with a very good looking father. See you. Have a great day. Ciao.